So apparently somebody that leaked Chrisean Rock and Junior's medical records from when he was born, listing the list of issues that he had. One of the issues being alcohol fetal syndrome, another one dealing with his ophthalmology, dealing with his sight, something else dealing with pulmonary, dealing with his lungs.
It's saying that he got all type of stuff and how she was being neglectful.
On Rock. So there's been some medical documents that have been released that people were saying are the medical documents of Junior, Chrisean's son. I'm going to tell you where to go to watch this on YT in a minute.
Here's the thing. Then, in just a few hours, the entire scenario involving Chrisean Rock and her infant son. Christian Jr. has gone from chaotic to completely disastrous. The internet is ablaze. It's not due to some dubious tweet or viral video. No, it's much deeper now. People are shaking about the alleged online release of baby Junior's medical records. Here, we're talking about more than simply minor health issues. We are discussing some critical diagnoses that are being made public for everyone to analyze. Much like a Reddit true crime thread.
Okay, who's out here breaking HIPAA laws? Apparently, there's some medical records of Chrisean and her baby floating around, and I don't know if it's true. This is all alleged, but I'm just gonna share what I learned. Maybe, allegedly. So it says that the baby suffers from fetal alcohol syndrome and neonatal abstinence syndrome. So neonatal abstinence syndrome is basically the baby is withdrawing from opioids, some sort of, but they're thinking either opioids or cocaine in this case. And allegedly, but he also allegedly suffers from spasticity, which is like a neurological disorder that makes it hard for people or babies to move their limbs. He also suffers from seizure disorder and CVI. Now, CVI is cortical visual impairment, which is just it means that a part of his brain has been damaged, the part of his brain that controls his vision. So he has blindness. Like I've heard people say this, but I just didn't believe it. But oh my God. It also says that he should be in palliative care. Now, I work in hospice, and a lot of people, they believe that palliative care and hospice is interchangeable, but it's not. The palliative care kind of focuses more on prolonging the life of the child or person in general. But in this case, if he should be on palliative care, he's got a very serious medical condition, and he ain't gonna... She needs to be taking care of him. How? As a mother, do you know these diagnoses, or do you know any of this information about your son and not help him in any way? Continue to live the same lifestyle that you lived before you had him. When you become a mother or father, but in this case, we're talking about mothers. When you become a mother, your life changes. You need to change, to adapt, to make sure that you are putting your child above yourself. Especially someone who has the serious medical issues that Junior has. Pathetic. She's pathetic. But all of these things are incredibly serious. I have literally no words. Chrisean disgusts me.
Interview 113 for 31. It's repulsive. People are posting, reposting, stitching these screenshots into TikToks, debating them in threads with thousands of comments, and spreading them like wildfire. People are treating it as though it were entertainment, but at its core is a child. Octoral baby boy who was born into this circus without requesting it. The worst aspect is that the world is watching like it's a soap opera while this youngster endures enough medical hardships to last a lifetime if what is being said is true, even partially accurate.
So apparently somebody that leaked Chrisean Rock and Junior's medical records from when he was born, listing the list of issues that he had. One of the issues being alcohol fetal syndrome, another one dealing with his ophthalmology, dealing with his sight, something else dealing with pulmonary, dealing with his lungs. I'm gonna tell y'all like this, there's so much fake news going on right now. I'm gonna take this with a grain of salt, even though the person who posted it tagged Blueface and Carlissa in it. Also proving that she didn't take no prenatal vitamins when she was pregnant. Listen, y'all, when you have a baby, there are so many tests that are performed during, after your labor, right? So if the doctors found something that could have been a cause due to the neglect of the mother, she would have had some type of consequence. Chrisean suffered no consequence, which is why I take this so-called news with a grain of salt. But we all know something going on. So I don't know if the hospital that she had the baby at, it is a well-known hospital for celebrities, and they do tend to cover shit up. But I'm pretty sure nobody not about to risk losing their license, misdiagnosing a child who's clearly having all of these difficulties and developmental delays. They're not gonna write something like, "Oh, the baby is healthy," when the baby not healthy. Like, I don't know what's going on. Maybe they had advised her to get the baby certain kind of help, and they probably worded it on the paperwork as if it was natural causes and not due to the neglect of the mama. I don't know. Who the fuck knows? All I know is there's a story going around showing fake or true diagnosis and records from the baby. I don't know. But I'm gonna look more into it, y'all. I'll come back if they,
Let's examine the claims made in these purported documents, since that's where things quickly get out of control. According to the screenshots, Sheen Jr. tested positive for cocaine, alcohol, and painkillers during birth. Yes, all three. That alone was plenty to send the internet into a tizzy. The conditions list followed: seizures, respiratory problems, cortical visual impairment, spasticity, newborn abstinence syndrome, and fetal alcohol syndrome. In the materials, the term palliative care was even mentioned. Palliative care, everyone. It's not something you bring up in passing. That toe isn't stubby. When attempting to prolong quality of life in the face of a chronic, potentially deadly illness, it is the type of care that is provided. Those screenshots were being read by people as if they were looking through a death notice. And one thing is certain, regardless of whether you think it's real or not, the way this story went viral reveals a lot about our cultural state. Because people are more interested in dragging Chrisean or engaging in heated Twitter debates than they are in addressing the purported problems of a newborn.
So there's been some medical documents that have been released that people were saying are the medical documents of Junior, Chrisean's son. I'm going to tell you where to go to watch this on YT in a minute. So I don't know if these are actually Junior's medical records, but I will say that the medical records appear to have been written by a medical professional, just the terminology that was used and stuff. Okay? I do believe there's somebody's medical records. All right. Now, the one thing that makes me a little leery about it is it says that the mother admitted to substance. It listed some substances that she admitted to. I just find it hard to believe that Chrisean would ever even admit that.
Fact that this information is so intimate only makes it worse. These are more than just gossip about who cheated on whom or released a diss song. This is the medical history of a person's child. And if those documents are authentic, then someone has just broken HIPAA regulations in a significant and perhaps illegal way. Consider the lengths someone would have to go to in order to obtain this. This wasn't something that was leaked from a private group chat or heard at a party. These medical notes had an official appearance and were written in a style more appropriate for medical practitioners than gossip columnists. Nevertheless, they were dissected by individuals who hardly understand the distinction between a podiatrist and a pediatrician. And they were plastered across timelines. It's unbelievable how disrespectful the child is. In addition to Sheen, Nobody wants to admit that, perhaps. Just possibly. None of us should have this information in the first place. But everyone wants to play detective.
So allegedly, Chrisean Jr.'s medical records been leaked. I don't know how true it is, but it's saying that he got all type of stuff and how she was being neglectful. But my thing is, if the doctors test the babies after they were born and they see that something, like if she was doing substances or something, she would have had to suffer the consequences. So I'm not sure if everything is true or not, but whoever did leak that is about to face some serious charges because the HIPAA laws. Like, why would y'all leak?
There are the reactions of the public. Some people immediately joined the "I told you so" trend, saying they had doubts about Christian's parenting from the beginning. For example, streaming a chaotic live stream or going to a bar once implied that she was unable to care for her child. Let's face it though, Chrisean has been the subject of intense scrutiny ever since she made her pregnancy public. Each bottle, each play tire, every Instagram caption has been examined as closely as if she were running for president. Now that these said documents are making the rounds, that investigation has escalated into a full-fledged witch hunt. People are out for blood, not simply compassion. Mob mindset is being given. And while everyone is so ready to criticize Cindy, very few are taking the time to consider who leaked this, why it happened now, and what the goal of this mayhem is. Because we shouldn't pretend that this occurred in a vacuum. These said documents didn't just appear. Someone purposefully made this public. And it wasn't just any internet troll, judging by the format, level of detail, and wording used. This was someone inside, someone with access. We must now consider whether Sheen was intended to be harmed or exposed by this disclosure. Was it to paint her to make her answerable? Her as an unsuitable mother in order for someone else to take charge, possibly even a particular father figure or his family. No one is discussing that aspect, but they ought to, because disclosing purported medical records could be a shady tactic. It's passed off as concern if a custody dispute is simmering behind the scenes. The mechanism itself adds even more layers to the narrative. People are questioning why CPS hasn't intervened or removed the child if this is its true. However, the majority of individuals are unaware that the child protection system does not function as the internet suggests. Yes, the hospital is legally obligated to report a newborn who tests positive for drugs, but this does not mean the baby is immediately taken away. The severity of the ailment, the cooperation of the parent, the presence of a treatment plan, and the appropriate feeding and care of the infant all play a role. Occasionally, they merely observe. They occasionally open a file and perform standard drop-ins. Therefore, CPS is still involved even though Chrisean still has custody. She has still had to overcome obstacles behind the scenes though, and the system may be giving her a chance if she is showing up, making an effort to follow through, and providing the baby with the assistance he needs. The thing that hurts my heart the most though is this. That infant is going to have a difficult time if even one of the conditions mentioned is true. He may have visual impairment for the remainder of his life due to cortical visual impairment alone. It might be uncomfortable and challenging to move when you have spasticity. For both parents and children, seizure disorders are worrisome. There is no need to spread rumors about this. This is a lifetime of medical professionals, counseling, operations, gear, and emotional fortitude. Nevertheless, rather than viewing this as a matter for prayer, many are treating it as tea to drink, and I understand. These days, everything is content, clutter sells, and having information gives you a sense of power. However, this went too far. Regardless of whether you Chrisean rock or not, the public should not argue over a baby's health as it's a boxing match. Additionally, there is another angle that must be considered. The belief that Chrisean must be accomplishing nothing if she isn't posting about her treatment sessions or health updates. It's unfair. It is not necessary for everything to be online. When going through hell, some people become silent. In fact, some people are attempting to preserve the privacy of their children. She doesn't have to give the world a list of all the doctors her son has visited, even though she isn't always the most filtered person on social media. Perhaps the stillness is an indication that she is making an effort. She might be overburdened. Perhaps she is doing the best she can while everyone is closely observing her and critiquing her every action. Mothers can't use the internet. Act like a human, not mothers in the spotlight in particular. Not Black women in particular, who have come from nothing and are attempting to juggle the chaos of trauma, fame, and motherhood. As a result, the internet is now divided. We told you so. And dragging her like she's a villain in a Lifetime film make up half of it. The other half is, hold on, let's not do this. 'Cause this is a baby's life, regardless of your feelings toward Chiron. Furthermore, if any of this is accurate, the emphasis should be on providing the baby with the care he requires rather than canceling his mother. This is one of the most egregious smear campaigns we have seen in a long time. If these documents are fraudulent, however, if they are genuine, perhaps someone should take over. Someone with actual power who can assist that baby get every resource, every doctor, and every opportunity he deserves. Not the internet, not the trolls, not the bloggers. I also hope the law finds the person who released this, because it is not only dubious but also against the law to violate a child's medical privacy. And whomever believed that this was the best method to reveal Chrisean should consider the harm they have caused not only to her but also to that helpless infant who must grow up with all of this associated with his name. Ultimately, you are not required to enjoy Chiron Rock. You are under no obligation to share her lifestyle. However, if you have any humanity left, you must acknowledge that this went too far. This isn't amusement. This is the real world. And at the heart of it is a real child. And that infant deserves serenity regardless of what occurs afterward. He is deserving of affection.